we have guests in the house or distributors? Distributors, right? So let's not act like guests. Let's not be like guests. Thank you so much, Hassan. Let's not be like guests, friends. Let's participate. This training is meant to help you, and it's meant to help you gather skills. So I want to communicate so that we can participate together, right? How many of you struggled with follow-up in the beginning and still struggling up to now with follow-up? It's a big challenge in your business. How many of us are struggling with follow-up? Now, I want to help you understand what follow-up is. Now, follow-up, I think for those of you who have logged into your dashboard, this is the training today, right? You have logged onto your dashboards. This is the training for today. The training for today is the journey from presentation to partner. The journey from presentation to what? Partner. Let me even write it down here. So today's training is this basically. So one of the biggest things I realized when I got started in the beginning was my biggest struggle was to do basically with follow-up. And the reason why it was a struggle at that particular moment in time was it had a lot of challenges because I had not learned how to do the follow-up correctly. And one of the biggest things I want to avoid today is having us struggling with follow-up. Follow-up basically simply means taking someone who has seen the business from a presentation side point of view, and they have loved the business, but you want them to eventually pay and join and become a member so that you can earn what? Money. You can earn what? Money. So the moment you earn money or commissions, whichever it is, it comes from you doing that task of follow-up. I told everybody today, you can be the worst presenter. You can be even the worst person at inviting. But the thing that you can't afford in your business is to be the person who's the worst at following up. Because that is where all the money is in network marketing. Being a bad presenter, there are people who are going to present on your behalf. True or false? The other thing you can do is invite your upline and he presents for you. As you're learning how to become a better what? Presenter. Same thing with inviting. You can call someone, but if someone comes eventually here, how they come, I know for a fact you learn and become better at inviting. But the hardest thing, after you've done all those amazing things, you've even had a very beautiful testimony. Someone comes and sees the presentation, but suddenly you go back home and the person says that, let me go think about it. Let me go look for the money. Let me go. There's that phase. 80% of our distributors, statistics show 80% of the guests we find in network marketing, they rarely start at first presentation. How many of you joined in the first time they showed you the business? How many of you joined? The first time they showed you a business. Stand up. I want to clap for you. How many of you joined for the first time? They showed you the business today, you joined today. How many of you joined like that? Wow. Wow. For those of you who are seated who didn't join like that, I want you to clap for these people. Stand up. Still remain standing. Be proud. It's not an everyday thing. Are you seeing the audience behind you? That shows you that my statistic is true, right? So for the people seated, let's clap for these people. Let's clap for them. Please sit down. Now, the biggest thing is, how did all of you join if just a few people have stood up? The person who followed you up did a very big job. True or false? And if they did a very big job, it's because they understood that the money that they wanted to make was not going to come instantly. And in today's training, the biggest thing I want us to focus on in today's training is to understand, as we're learning in today's training, that follow-up is the biggest challenge. It says here that my biggest challenge in business, as I presented to people, they promise, but later, they don't join. How many of you people have promised you that they are going to join and they don't join? By show of hands. Eh? People promise, they say, I'm coming back. Even one of our leaders here said, people even tell you, let me look for the money. They even had to give you a date. Let me come back next week, Thursday. Actually, check on me tomorrow. Some of you even do everything. You check on them tomorrow, you wait for Thursday, you wait, and the person comes and they fail to what? Start. The biggest thing I realized was Many people get very heartbroken, especially, tell your neighbor, especially when that person doesn't pay and join afterwards. Now imagine most of us who are seated, imagine if the person who had invited you, right, got very heartbroken and very annoyed that you didn't pay. Because many of us, when we invite our guests, you want to put them in that kameme. You want them to sit in that hot seat. And you want them to even leave their ID, their passport, their whatever. Eh? You even want them to leave a deposit when they don't have money. And for you, when you didn't do those same things, you get very annoyed and very hurt when your prospect doesn't do the same. Now, chances are high that when you're doing follow-up, this is the point, actually it connects with even the flyer they put out there. This is the point where you need emotional intelligence. Now, it's very painful to get angry at your prospect for not starting a business. And again, I want to tell you for a fact that many times, our prospects are not going to see their business and join instantly. And to understand this, I want to show you the first thing phase number 1 talks about in this training today. Now, phase number 1 talks about the mindset vaccine. This one, we're vaccinating all our prospects. The mindset vaccine here. We are vaccinating our prospects from the most common thing that a person sees from a presentation. How many of you were excited when you saw the first time the presentation? You were very excited, you were over the moon, you are the most happiest person when they were presenting. You saw stories that motivated you. That was how I was. Let me tell you a funny story. When I came for the presentation the first time when I got to see network marketing, there were so many people in the room. But that time, the most exciting part is when they called for achievers. Oh my goodness. All the people who are walking in that corridor were smelling and looking like money. Everybody who passed was looking like $1 million. I looked at them, that's the first time I ever saw a shiny shoe that could even see my face. At that point, I was very motivated. I didn't understand what this guy had talked about, the products, where they came from, which country, where they did what, they were expiring when. I didn't care about all those things. Even if we were told to sell pencils, I was ready to sell pencils. Because the people I had seen, my motivation had gone to the roof. Now, in the beginning of your network marketing journey, we talked about the excitement phase. It also affects the prospects. Excitement is not only when you join, excitement is even before joining. And you know the biggest challenge about it is that you now live, like I said here in the slides, you now live from being a presenter and you start becoming a protector. Do you know what I mean by becoming a protector? You start protecting your prospect who has seen the business. You don't want them to get negatized. You don't want them to change their mind. Someone has promised you, I'm going to come and buy 5 products. You even counted the profit. Some of you even borrow money from your friends before they pay. You come and you spend the profit you have calculated in your head. You budget. You even tell people are demanding me, find me tomorrow but one. And that one is the most painful thing when someone says, I failed to get the money. Or maybe my friend told me. Those are the deadliest words in follow-up. My friend told me, my husband told me, my girlfriend told me, my wife said this, my best friend told me. Those things don't work. Friends, I don't know how many times I died and got buried and I resurrected when I was doing follow-up. And today, I want to tell you for a fact that the first thing that you want to tell your prospect after they leave a presentation is to warn them. Tell your neighbor, warn them about dream stealers. These people are everywhere. These ones, you have to warn your prospect about them. Friends, dream stealers are people who tell you about everything bad about a business. I sat once next to a friend of mine. We were talking once. We had met after work. I asked this guy that, but man, you know what? One of these days, I think I should enter the business of transport. The guy said, transport cars are expensive. The tax has gone up. Nowadays, you ship a car, they pay you more, you even pay more tax than the value of the car. The guy made me want to not be in the transport what? Business. Then I told him, I think we should maybe think of, if transport has failed, why not start this business that I saw a friend of ours doing recently? The guy had started up, he started making containers where people could come, and then they started putting their businesses in those containers. Then the guy said that, do you know how much a container is? He had every reason why every business idea was not going to work. Then the guy who was seated next to him, and every time I suggested a business idea and he was telling me the negative side, the guy asked him, okay, for you, which business do you want us to do? Eh? If this one doesn't work, if the other one doesn't work, for you, which business do you want us to do? And that's when he started saying, you have to first survey before you enter business. I told him, sir, you the quantitative surveyor, tell us which business should we do? And start. And that's when I realized that these people, some of them are telling you their own concerns and fears. Sometimes they may not even be able to afford the business, but they just don't want to see you succeed. Have you ever seen those kinds of people? They don't have the money to buy the shoe, and you've gone to buy a shoe with them, and they tell you, this shoe is not nice. They will come back next week when they have finally got the money to buy a shoe also. Those kinds of people are everywhere. But what you have to understand is that the prospect is going to share with someone. It's a must. The moment you hesitate your person, the moment you make someone feel scared about sharing with their people, it's going to become like a red flag. They're going to wonder, why are you making me hide this secret? Why should I hide about something nice? It's 99.9% of the people. Even if you go and watch a nice movie, someone is going to leave that same movie hall and they're going to tell their friend that there's this movie that was nice. He's even going to narrate the same movie. Now, do you know why he's going to do that? It's because of the excitement. So it's important to understand, rather than refuse them to share, how about you prepare them for if they share, what happens then? If their friend tells them no, if their friend tells them this, it's important to mix in and tell them a story. You tell them that, hi, Susan, I know you've seen the business, I know you're excited, and I'm sure you're going to be like me. Let me tell you a funny story, Susan. When I got to see my first network marketing presentation, I was excited. I saw all the presenters sharing, but the exciting part was the end when I had the success stories. These stories motivated me so much, Susan. But do you know the biggest problem? I went back home, I met my mom. My mom has never done these kinds of things before. She has no idea of how these things work. But I was so excited, I wanted to get it off my chest and share it with someone. So I told her about the business. Do you know what my mom told me? She told me, my son, if you have never been in Kampala before, there are people called scammers. Tell your neighbor, scammers. These people are going